Welcome everyone, this is Kurtim's channel. Now we are back to our new episodes of True Semi-Reality Champions and Comparison, featured by Wild League of Legends versus the Mobile Legend Bang. But before that, please like and subscribe to my channel and don't forget to click the bell icon so you will be notified to our new next episode video. Let's do this!
Rakan is an infamous Vastayan troublemaker and the greatest battle dancer in the history of the Lothland tribe. To the humans of the Ionian Highlands, the name Rakan became synonymous with festivals, uncontrollable parties, and anarchic music. Only few would suspect that this energetic traveling showman is also partner to the rebel Xayah and is dedicated to her cause. The Lothland tribe lives at the borders of Ionia's mythical deep forest. It is a place where Vastayan creatures breathe magic like air. To them, the mortal realms have become something like an unforgiving desert, virtually devoid of magic. Only few willingly travel from their shrinking land, but Rakan has long walked a riskier path. He journeys along the edges of the world's magical streams as an explorer, emissary, and song catcher for his tribe. An entertaining road, a welcome performer for any tavern or village carnival, Rakan was enjoying all the little adventures on his road, until he had the chance to meet Xayah at the Harvest Festival of Valongo. Seeing her in the crowd, Rakan performed one of his oldest songs, entracing the entire town with his dance. Though countless human and Vastayan women had fallen for him in the past, this Violet Raven seemed immune to his charm, though not uninterested. How could she see him yet choose not to follow him? This was a puzzle with no easy answer. Intrigued, the battle dancer decided he would accompany Xayah on her travels. He became fascinated by how she interacted with the world. She seemed always prepared, aloof, and focused, while he was the exact opposite. But in any dangerous situation, they fought together with uncanny harmony. Soon enough, the pair became inseparable. After months of courtship, Rakan began to see the world through Xayah's eyes. Inspired by his partner's drive, he joined her crusade to reclaim the power of the Vastaya and take back all that their people had lost. Through Xayah, he had found purpose, and Rakan had fallen in love. Two paths lead to the monastery fortress from the villages below it, Xayah began. Rakan followed her eyes and saw a pair of golden stairways that stretched down from the mountain temple to the farmhouses below. Each wooden house probably had whole families inside. There, mortals were born, they died, and most importantly, they created new songs. Probably with harps and drums, maybe flutes. Should I make a read-through later? First, I need to pluck my clothes. Did I remember to clean my feathers? The town below must have an inn. A bottle of wine would be great right now. Rakan, Xayah said. Friend, she was telling me the plan. He focused back on her face, on her crooked smile. The sunset's last rays reflected in her eyes. He loved her eyelashes. He wanted to repeat it back to me. Something in the monastery. She was, I rendezvous with you at... Rakan said, but he had already lost the thread. He pulled at one of his feathers on his hand, hoping to pluck the idea from it. A tiny shimmer of light glistened from her bottom lip. Rakan noticed it was purple. It was violet yesterday. They will kill me if they catch me, she said. The shock of the thought snapped Rakan back to reality. He felt his face twist into a snarl. Who? He demanded. The guards, she replied. It's always the guards. Then I'll distract them. When? She pointed to the sky. Look for a green flash before the sun sets. Then draw the guards away from the western walls while I run along the ramparts to the cells. I put on a show the moment the sun sets. He said. Where do we meet? At the gate. I'll throw a golden blade into the sky, but you'll have to be there in 10 breaths. Zaya said, plucking a feather from his cloak. I will be at that gate the moment you throw the blade. Rakan said. At that moment, nothing in his life was more certain than death. I know. She nodded and began telling him the safest path to take. She always planned things. That's why he knew she would be okay. He then noticed how gorgeous the sky was. He even saw a cloud shaped like an eggplant. He saw a dog once. The plane was running and Rakan stood at the golden steps. He didn't like them. His feathers were the same color and he blended in almost perfectly. It infuriated him and he thought about changing their hue, but that would take some magic. Damn, I can't be tired when she needs me. Zaya probably sent me this way knowing my plumage would blend in here. A red cave would look better against these steps. Maybe indigo? What's around this corner? More steps. Only humans could cut stones into flesh shapes to make mountain boring. I should climb the cliff. Zaya said to take the steps. I'm pretty sure. He picked up some pebbles and began to juggle them. He heard the magic breathing from the north of him, within the twisting roots of the Luradi forest. He remembered the forest song and began to sing it. What was that? A voice echoed above him. A human guard appeared. His clothing was as dark as shadow. Who are you? He demanded. I'm Rakan, he replied. He was weirded out that he didn't know him. Who? Rakan didn't like him. He hated him more than the steps. I'm Rakan, the battle dancer of the Lothland Cry. I am the song of the morn. I am the dance in the midnight moon. I am the charmed. It's the Vastayan entertainer. Another guard interrupted. He too wore boring clothing. Clothes Rakan hadn't seen in this area before. The first guard had a shiny golden amulet on his chest. He snatched it from him. Hey, what's this? Rakan asked. The guard grasped for it, but Rakan flipped it around his hand while juggling the pebbles in the other. Gimme that. He flicked each stone into his face. Nope, he said. Is it important? The guard drew a pair of hook swords. Rakan took one away from him before he could raise them. Open the gate. I'll give you back this, shiny thing. He offered as he twirled the amulet in his palm and then sent it spinning up his arm. Instead, the guard attacked. Rakan flipped over and landed behind him. The guard turned to slash again. Rakan dived under the blade, using his rear to knock him off balance. The guard fell down the steps with a scream. The other guard watched his friend stumbling away, then looked back to Rakan. He shook his head at him. Honestly, how could anyone not know who I am? The other guard stabbed at him with a spear. Rakan twisted past him, blinding him with his cloak. The guard tripped over himself and fell onto his shield. He then continued his fall down the same stairs and crashed into his friend at the bottom. You are terrible dancers, he said as he checked his cloak for dirt. The two guards stumbled to their feet, glaring up at Rakan. You okay? He asked, thankful for the amusement. They roared as they rushed up the steps. Ungrateful bastards. Rakan leapt away from them and asked, wanna know the difference between a party and a fight? They slashed at him with their weapons again and again. One is an entertaining day, Rakan said as he sent them back down the stairs. The other is short. A deafening gong sounded behind him. Rakan smiled. The fun part was about to begin. The action continued moments later. You gotta do better than that, Rakan yelled, taunting his pursuers as he ran. He had around 20 or 30 guards behind him and he needed to get out. He realized that running through the sleeping chambers was a bad idea. Some of the men had strange crossbows. They used fire from a tube. If he had to give them a name, Rakan would call them tube bows. Their shots exploded around him, blowing holes into the walls. Rakan leapt from the room and slid into the courtyard, performing a full twist to give it some flair. The gate opened. He could run for it, but Zaya needed him. One of the guards swung his Q-bow at him. Or is bow too better? He quickly thought. He leapt at the guard, diving over his shot. What's a good rhyme for two-bow? Rakan asked out loud. He kicked the guard up in the air. As he fell, Rakan spun and introduced his hands to the man's cheek. The sound was louder than his weapon. "Oh, slash," he said. The human rose to his feet, pulling out his sword. "How are you not getting the message?" Rakan wondered if he could find a kitchen. That's where the chocolate would be. The light in the sky was changing. He leapt into the air to check the sun's location again. It disappeared behind the hills. An orb of green light flashed above it. "Party time!" he screamed. Now the entire castle was chasing him. "Surrender yourself!" A guard in a metal hat yelled. "No, I'm distracting you," Rakan replied. The guard looked at him confused. Rakan knew he was going to slap him next. A hail of arrows launched from the opposite wall. He danced through them, enjoying their whistling. The golden blade hung in the air for a second before falling. Zaya was ready to go. He took his first breath. She said he had 10, but even 4 was too long. He had to know she was safe. "Wanna see some sweet moves?" he asked the nearest human. He rolled through the group and appeared behind him. The human turned and met Rakan's cloak halfway. His feathers launched him spinning into the air. Second breath. Rakan repeated his move on another guard. Third breath. He had to make it back to where Zaya needed him. He leapt up the rampart and ran toward the gate. He took fourth breath midair. Zaya appeared out of nowhere and ran toward the gate with some fancy chihuahuas. Bastians from the Sejerko tribe. "We'll never make it," shouted Agunin, the eldest one of the group. "They have rifles." "You mean the two bows?" Rakan asked. Agonir stared at him blankly. "Those are out of ammo. The Zini longbows too." "What? How?" "I'm Rakan," he explained. "All of you, run to the tree line," Zaya shouted. A dozen men covered in flour and chocolate ran from the guardhouse. "Run!" Zaya yelled. That's when one of the Juloa fell. Rakan pulled him along.